All righty, everybody. And I clicked the wrong button. That was great. Well, let's try that. That lovely introduction. Thank you very much. Anyways, everyone, welcome to our special episode today. We got a lot to talk about, and as you can all see, we have a special guest with us. We got Mr. Matt White.
Thank you, Jester. Thanks, Rob.
Oh, you're welcome.
Good evening, everyone.
That lovely artwork that we saw at the beginning here was by Matt White. That is a beautiful piece.
They're awesome.
Thank you. That's very kind.
Just lovely. So we hope to actually go through and show off some artwork that he's got today. So we were looking forward to that. So I've been telling Ruff for, I don't know, what's it been, like a year now, to try and get Matt on the show. And Ruff finally decided to do it this week. So
all right, I'll just go with the flow. All right.
Probably for the best.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
Because
hi to everyone in the chat. Hi, everyone. Great to see you.
OG's here. Kyle's here.
Yeah, the
How
OG.
you guys doing? Good to see everyone. Another wonderful day here. Hope everyone had a great week of gaming out there.
Having your mates round on the Saturday night. It's great.
Right. So we're going to be talking throughout this episode, obviously, about art and designing art for war games and how important it is. And I figured what better person to talk to about it than Matt White. So Matt, how long have you been doing war game art?
Well, I guess I started when I was at school. The school that I went to at secondary school, I was lucky that we had like a Friday afternoon war game club. Ooh. So this was back when I was like what we would call secondary school, so 11 or 12 years old. And the history teacher and the maths teacher used to play old school Avalon Hill SPI games. And at that point, me and my friends used to sort of make our own games, and we would make little counters and, play games there. So I guess I started when I was probably 11. Do you know what I mean? So we were very lucky. The teachers were really into it, which was great. So that was probably, and in that era, I kind of grew up playing those sort of older, what we call older games now. So yeah, the old Avalon Hill, Panzer Leader, the original Squad Leader, some of the old SPI classics, And then as we got older, D&D became a thing. So we went and sort of played a lot of D&D in that club, and then more miniature games came out. We got into that as kids and teenagers. So yeah, quite a while. But interestingly, I was really bad at art at school. I went to a school where art was draw a vase or a vase of flowers, and if you could do that, brilliantly, then you were a good artist. And if you wanted, like me, to draw dragons and tanks and Spitfires and things like that, no, you're not so much. So I didn't study art at school or anything like that. So it's all self-taught. Yeah, all my work's self-taught.
Funny you should say that, because I remember that as well. I drew a Spider-Man.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And the old art teacher, he went, "What's this? What's this then? Where's your vase, vase of tulips?" And I said, "No, Spider-Man, Spidey." And he said, "No." He said, "Draw something else." So I had to take my trainer off, put it on the table, and draw my trainer.
Right.
Oh,
yeah. It was definitely. I mean, I think it's a lot different now. I mean, my before the pandemic and my kids were at school, I think it was a lot different. Hey, Mike, good to see you.
Yeah, Mike.
So yeah,
I think you've been doing it a while, and you're self-taught, so you've basically gone through the learning yourself.
Yeah,
and kind of tried to figure out how to do things that you wanted to do, and you were introduced to wargaming really at a young age. Which
I guess I've been playing war games now for 35 years, something like that. But I went through for a long time actually. I kind of fell into, I guess, producing artwork for my games and the wargaming sort of other publishers and designers almost by accident. I kind of quite a few years ago, I really wanted to learn how to draw sort of more mechanized objects. So, you know, mechs, Gundam, that sort of thing, you know. And in sort of learning that, I had to go at drawing planes, I had to go at drawing robots, and I had to go at drawing, I think it was a Sherman. And everyone, I put them on Facebook just for my friends, and everyone kind of went, "Oh, you know, the Sherman's that's really cool." And so I did another one, and then I did another one, and I kind of learned. And then because with Facebook, I guess I just put them onto some World War II groups, and people pointed out the things I'd got wrong, you know,
as they do,
which is good. It's good feedback, you know.
Good for you, yeah.
You know, so it really grew organically. I think, you know, it wasn't planned or anything like that. It was just having fun, and because of where I live in the UK, we're not far from a couple of really good military museums. So we're not far from the Imperial War Museum at Duxford. Isn't too far from us.
I'm here,
and my mum and dad used to take me when I was a little boy. Every birthday, we used to go to Duxford. And okay, good evening. And then we're not far from the for a weekend. We're not far from Bovington Tank Museum.
Yeah, so, that's where I need to go. It's a bit of a trek for me. But talk about the Imperial War Museum. It's been a little bit older than you, Matt.
Yeah,
I remember when the Imperial War Museum, the only one, was in London.
Yeah.
And I could walk from my house to it, and I used to walk to it every weekend and see the big guns out the front, you know,
and
then walk in. The first thing you'd see was the old V1. Oh,
right, okay.
Yeah, I think it's still there. I must go back one day. But sorry, just brought it all back there. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, they're great. They're great museums. And my grandfather was during the war. He was in the Queen's Lifeguards, so he was Household Cavalry, which during the World War II was an armed recon service. And so I'd always grown up with sort of an interest and love of tanks, and so it started with tanks, and that's kind of probably what I'm known for, is drawing tanks. You know, studying.
What is your all right? So you're known for tanks, but what is your favorite thing to draw? Is it tanks? Is it planes? Is it ships? Is it mechs? Is it flowers and vases?
It's definitely not flowers in the vase. Definitely not.
Vase, yeah.
Definitely
Tell you
not.
what, Matt, you don't do many. Draw some planes for me.
What you know? Here's the thing. The game that I am noodling on at the minute.
What's one of your own?
Yes, it's one of my own. So this is a game of my own.
Talk about them, don't you worry.
But one of the games I'm noodling at the minute is based on this book that I've got on my desk, which is a book called Hellhawks, which is about pilots who flew jugs in World War II, and were really hitting the ground targets. So
is this breaking news?
Yes, absolutely. I've not told
this
anyone
is
about this.
World premiere news.
There you go.
We did it again.
We did it again, but they don't recognise us. Are we up for the Charlies? No, we're not. We get all this breaking news all the time.
There you go.
Breaking news, folks. Wow.
Yeah, I a few years ago I saw a P-47 being flown at sort of a historic air show, and it was just incredible, absolutely incredible.
Aren't they like the machines, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely incredible. And I kind of got interested in the history of them, reading about them, reading sort of. So yeah, planes is something that I'm practicing at the moment. Yeah, but it answers your question.
I've got aircraft are my favourite thing, and the other thing I'm getting into is Navy.
Yeah. So, right. Okay. Yeah. Sure. I did get offered to work on a really well-known naval. Yeah. There you go. You see.
See, the thing is, sorry, Matt. I'll get back to you. This thing, I used to make these as a kid all the time. And
Airfix kits, right?
Yeah, well, Revell, whatever, the more upmarket ones, all that sort of thing. And I thought, just for a laugh, I'd watch some. There's loads on YouTube of people making these on YouTube, just for old time's sake. Watch somebody build a Messerschmitt or something.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, it's like you with drawing the tanks. All that that shovel needs to be sort of 2 inches to the right on the left hand side there. They were talking about that with these kits, saying, well, this is okay if you're doing a Mark III, but if it's a Mark IV, there's too many rivets here. And you're thinking, who's going to see it? But anyway, sorry, I had to say it. Off you go. Sorry.
I do. It's funny though, because you do find yourself getting sort of really sucked into the detail. Like really sucked into the detail.
I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying it was quite,
it's quite engrossing, right? Yeah. That sounds great. Yeah, I'd be up for that.
You should take this. Where is it? Let me see if I can get it. There. You should take this.
We could put some flowers.
Flower vase on there and then send it back to that.
Or just stick one down the barrel, like they did, in the Flower Power era.
There you go.
There you go. But there is that rough. There's that T34, isn't there, in London, where people paint it.
Yeah,
all different colours. I forget where it is in London, but people have painted flower patterns on a T34. There's a T34 parked in London, in this like park.
I think somebody donated it, didn't they? So here's a T34 for you, and they went, "Oh, okay."
People paint with different.
Driving it around London and causing mayhem, which is what I would have done. They painted it,
paint murals on it and things like that. It's great. Yeah, it's great.
Well, it keeps the graffiti from other places.
Well, no, it's a good, it's a part of history. The T-34. I mean, it's an old tank, sure, but it was in the Second World War.
So back to my original question.
What do I like drawing the most? It really varies.
It's like Tony. I swear to God, it'll just talk, and then you two get.
He lives down the road from me.
I'm outnumbered. Where's Tony? This is the first time I think I've ever asked. Where's Tony? My God, I need him here. You Brits are just off on a tangent. Back to my
down
question.
the road.
What's your favorite thing to draw? I know you're known for your tags, but is that your favorite?
It really varies depending on what the project is at the time. Yeah. So I really do enjoy drawing soldiers, sort of the human form. And I've probably done as much of what I'll call soldiers as I probably have done tanks. And I went through a phase of learning to draw horses. So they're hard, aren't they? They're not easy. They're not easy at all. They're not easy at all. I've got an English Civil War project noodling around in the background.
Oh,
yeah. I've got an English Civil War project, and I've got a Napoleonics project that at some point I want to sort of spend some more time on. So I sort of learned how to do Napoleonic sort of costume. I was going to say costume, but really the uniforms. And then I've sort of learned or tried to learn how to do horses. Again, cavalry, heavy cavalry. That's probably one of the things I'd really like to crack is heavy cavalry. So the sort of, again, the lifeguards or the lancers of the Napoleonic era. So it to be honest with you, it's sort. I'm lucky in that I invariably enjoy the project I'm working on. And to be honest with you, if I didn't enjoy it, I don't have to, they're all, for the most part, all my projects are of my own instigation. So sorry, Ruff.
No, sorry, I'll keep doing this. He tells me off. But it's like our hobby, isn't it?
It's like exactly like a hobby, yeah.
We don't play or video the games we don't like, do we?
Yeah, it's exactly like a hobby. So, I think, I've been lucky. I've been lucky to work on I do my own games, and that's one thing, and I enjoy doing that. And then I'm lucky in that I'm able to collaborate with other people, other game designers, and collaborate on their projects with them. So David Thompson, I've done two games with David Thompson. I've done 3 different projects with Uva Academy, and then Greg M. Smith on his new game about tanks. So they sort of all quite interesting projects, and projects maybe that I wouldn't necessarily like. I can remember when David Thompson reached out to me and said, "Oh, I've got this game idea for us, this event called Castle Itter," and I'd never heard of Castle Itter. I didn't know what it was. And that was great because it was it enabled you sort of dig into that project and the history of it. And, we spent a few days sort of talking about the history. And as soon as I read the story about what it was, I was like, I'd love to do it. I've never drawn the castle before or anything like that, but it sounds brilliant and sounds great fun.
And he picks these subjects that no one has heard of, or very few people. Adolf's House, Castle Litter, which I can see on the shelf there, which I've got, and Postman.
It's exactly the same with Postman, right?
Yeah.
Postman was really interesting because not only was it an event that I sort of knew a little bit about, but not extensively. Some of the detail in some of the work for that, again, with subjects that I'd never hadn't known about. So there's an armored car in Postman's that I'd never come across, and I've drawn most armored cars now from World War II. So that was really it's just a very fascinating subject. And yes, he's great at picking these subject matters.
He's great, isn't he?
Yeah, and
all books are fantastic as well, and the count and the art and everything is just brilliant. I love them.
His designs are so
All
different.
right, everybody, here's our first drink of the day.
Sorry.
And his designs are so different than what I would design as well.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of fun. Yeah, a lot of fun.
But talking about your designs for other game companies like the Castle Litter, and Postman's, they have that look.
Yep.
Yeah, they've got a look that I know that's Matt's work.
Yep.
But the tank stuff and the stuff for Uwe was completely different looking, wasn't it?
So for Uwe's game, so for the Conflict of Heroes, my work is in the rule book as sort of flavor illustrations. So the main cover is done by a different artist.
Oh, I thought that was you.
No. So that's okay.
Oh, we should get him on. He's more famous.
If I
Wait, what are we talking to Matt for? We should get the
got the wrong artist. So
no, it doesn't matter. Yeah.
Conflict of Heroes. So it's Stephen. I'm going to try and pronounce his name correctly. I think it's Pascal. He's a brilliant artist.
Yeah. That's
brilliant artist.
So different. But you did do the tank cover for Greg's new game.
Yes.
And that's different from the other stuff I know you for, like your tanks and your Castle Litter.
That was interesting because
Phew, got out of that one all right, didn't I? Right.
So anyway, what's interesting about Stephen's work for Conflict of Heroes? He works in oils, so he's doing oils on a canvas. Now I have
work with a computer. Don't you?
I work on a computer mostly because number one, I've got small children, and if they came into this room and there were oils, you can imagine.
Yeah,
you can imagine the chaos that would ensue. So, but there is a texture to oil painting that's very hard to reproduce authentically, I think, and I kind of wouldn't see the point of trying to reproduce it on a computer.
Yeah.
But the cover art for American Tank Case, which is going to be published by Compass, and I think it's not too far away. He picked out one of the pieces I'd done of the Easy 8, which is sort of a late war Sherman, but we wanted it full color, so full edge to edge color. So I had to sort of go back and draw in the backgrounds and things like that.
It's still done on the computer though.
It's all done on my Mac. Yeah. And I use
it looks different. Your stuff looks sort of very sort of art deco, has an art deco look to it.
Right. Yeah.
Litter and the Postman's game.
Yep.
And even your tanks have that sort of, to me, that sort of art deco-y look to them. Whereas the tank one looks like a painting of a tank. That's
that's sure. I think I probably have. There are some colours that I use extensively that are quite you don't see. Like for example, I use a lot of black, like completely black, in all the shadows, and that's fairly. I don't see too many other artists doing that. So there's for example there. that is jet black. And that's one of the advantages to working digitally, is that black you see is actually a layer underneath the tank that I paint in separately, to which if you were painting on a canvas, for example, that could be quite difficult. You know,
there's things you can do that on a PC that you can't do with a brush and Vicky Berkey, I suppose. But
you know, so that's different. And the biggest advantage I have is that because I use a Mac, I can press Apple Z all the time. So when I make a mistake, which is always, I'm constantly undoing it. You know, so it's a lot of trial by error and a lot of learning as you go along.
Yeah, and but look at the result. I mean, Carl said, I thought that was a photo.
That's very. And I think that's one of the things I spend a lot of time working on is what I would call the lighting. So how you use your palette to represent light. And tanks are interesting in that they are metallic and they are not clean. So you can have a lot of fun, and I enjoy doing that. Yeah, I enjoy doing that.
And that's what I think I like about your designs, is that they look 3D. They look like the light's bouncing off them, and there's crud on them, and it's
and that I can remember there were some things that I learned fairly quickly, I think, and I think one of them, especially with tanks, is there are some tanks that are really difficult if the tank has its gun in a fixed position. So like a Jagd Panther, or like a Hetzer or something like that. Whereas a Tiger or a Sherman, you have a turret, which means that the composition, I have a little technique where I point the hull one way and I point the turret another way, and it gives a kind of inviting composition.
And it gives a sort of momentum and excitement to the picture.
And they look
this way, but he's looking at you.
And I use that technique quite a lot. Whereas something like there are some tanks that I can remember took me a long time to figure out a good composition of the tank, you know. And then there are some where peculiar angles might look quite good. So I did a Hellcat from a very low angle from the rear, which again is not necessarily a sort of angle you would think of for that sort of tank destroyer, and that was quite interesting piece to do. So
I can see that, because you're following the tank down to do it.
So you're always kind of looking for interesting lines and interesting compositions. So
you do. You know, even when you're doing things like static trucks or something, it's the people on them that are doing things that make it interesting. You know.
I think there's a certain human element to it. So for example, which I think is why working with Greg on his project was great, because his game's a lot about, yes, it's about the tanks, but it's also about the people, the crew of the tanks. And I always try to even though you might not see the crew in the artwork, to try and get that effect that there's actually people involved in this thing as well.
They are narrative-driven games he designs.
Very much so, yeah. I'm a big...
He's a nutter, isn't he? We've had him on the show. He's bonkers.
He's
great. He's lovely.
Yeah, I mean, it was great working with him, because I could ask him certain sort of historical questions about some of the tanks, and he would be able to, give me the answers. So, I mean, when you're working on a game like that, it's really important to me to get some of the details right. Yeah. So there was this one tank variant on the turret, where one had got wet stowage and the other hadn't got, wet stowage. And so, Greg is someone like that. You can sort
of... and being a tanker, of course, he's going to know, isn't he? But he was talking about World War One game as well, which, again, I'm looking forward to.
Yeah.
And he was saying, I did research on that, but luckily the artist for that was somebody that knew World War One planes backwards. So when... This guy went, no, this has another rivet there. So it's the same thing again. So it's great when you're surrounded by people that know what they're talking about.
Yeah, I think
as the artist can then go, okay, here we go, we'll have it like that then. So
it's one of the things I look for when, if another designer or publisher comes to me with a project And unfortunately, the truth is, as we were saying, a lot of this is it's a hobby, to truth be told. So your time is really limited. So I turn a lot of projects down, not because I wouldn't want to do them, but just simply because I don't have the time. So
shame, isn't it?
something like, so for example, Castle Itter, for example. I mean, it's weekend after weekend after weekend, sort of working on those sort of projects. So extensive.
Thanks. I think that was a message for me to shut up.
No, you're doing good. You're doing good. I was trying to do something.
You're trying to be a bit flash, and it all backfired on you. So, when do you want to talk? When do you want to talk about his games?
Talk about them in a little bit.
All right.
I'm still trying to get his answer from like 10 minutes ago.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Sorry, that's my fault. I do apologise. Over to you. Over to you two. Go on. I'll shut up and cheers. Cheers in the chat. Cheers in the chat.
Cheers. I need Tony. Yeah, I'm outnumbered here.
Yeah, as I say, he's what, 100 miles down the road? Hour and a half.
Yeah.
Favorite thing to paint?
As artwork, right, Jester?
Yes.
Keep it clean.
Oh, it will be. Of course, it will be clean. Of course, it'll be clean. Oh dear, it's a difficult one. I do like drawing and painting Allied airborne, so British airborne.
Thought you did.
Yeah. Probably British airborne. If I had to pick one particular thing.
So when you do you like doing like a whole scene, or do you like focus in on like one paratrooper and
yes, yeah. So
you're like a zoomed in kind of
yeah,
guy.
yeah, definitely. So
as opposed to like the tank with the landscape and everything going.
Yeah,
on.
I have done some of those, and I kind of always, and I enjoy doing those sort of things. But I will look naturally, if it's in my, I'll always pick something. Yeah, something that's a bit more, from an artistic point of view, I hasten to add a bit more intimate. So that means it's a real study, and the study of people I find interesting, especially with historic periods where the soldiers were not professional soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
So right. Where the soldiers were really just normal people. And there's a certain, I think I like to try and work hard to make sure that feeling comes across in the pieces of the infantry, is that there's a certain both mixture of bravery and melancholy to them.
Yeah, good. Yeah,
and that's simple things. So people go, what do you mean by that? It's things like where the position of the shoulder to the viewer, how they're holding. So if you look in a lot of my artwork, I have never drawn a soldier firing a weapon. It's all them holding weapons, not actually, muzzle flash or anything like that. And it's because of that. It's because I want to get that feeling across that they're.
Yeah.
What
I get is that it's either a sort of steadfastness that here we go again.
It's a bit of good determination, yeah.
Or it's here we go again.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, definitely. And I try and get that across. And even when you just did it, the way your shoulders.
Yeah,
shoulders
exactly. Yeah, you're up and then here we go again, sort of thing. It's what reminds me of it is this picture.
Do you think you could get that ass on a soldier there?
That picture.
Yeah,
says it all. Yeah. He's just been told something, and he's thinking FFS. So that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Hey Mo,
how you doing, hey Mo.
Mo.
Hey Wardy Rope.
He's using our expression. He's using TTFN. None of the Yanks know what it is.
Right.
Yeah, I think there is a, and if I could just talk about that for a second, I think there is a I don't like to use the word sadness, but there's definitely there's a grittiness to it. And I think a lot of people would perceive that to be the grittiness of actual combat. And for me, it's more the physical pose, the lighting, of the piece that does that. Yeah, definitely.
Blame Todd. He started using it.
With all your painting, designing, game creation, do you have any time to actually play games?
To be fair, it sort of depends on the project that I'm doing, how much time I get to play a game. At the minute, I'm not playing a huge amount of games because I have my last game to finish off for all the people that backed it on Kickstarter. And but there are different times, where I do get quite a bit of time to play games. And then my own YouTube channel, I tend to post reviews of the games that I'm playing from my collection. So at the minute, I'm playing on my other table, which you guys can't see. I've got in magnificent style set up on the table because I'm having a bit of a dip into the American American. Right. Okay. So American Civil War and also the War of Independence, mostly because I've been teaching my kids a little bit about that because it's just a subject matter that's not taught here in the UK almost at all. No. And then last week I played got it behind me. I played 1812, The Invasion of Canada from Academy Games. And again, that's subject matter that's just not taught in any at all. The same with the French Indian War,
So over here, of course, no. But it's not. I mean, the 1812 one was that the Americans trying to invade Canada.
That was when the Americans had a crack at invading Canada.
Well, I say crack. That's about all they had, wasn't it? Really. But anyway, we'll leave it there. But it's not taught. It's not taught anywhere because it's of no interest over here to us. We're not even taught very much about the English Civil War.
Very little about the English Civil War. Yeah, which is surprising, and as an event of the history of Great Britain, it's a fundamental event, and
because of what happened with royalty, what happened with government, and all that sort of thing.
So, and after with the Restoration, and as an event, I read somewhere that if you per capita, it actually had more people were affected by it than almost any other war in Great British history. So it's a substantial. But again, very I think that one thing I do with some of the war games that I've got in my collection, is help teach my kids about parts of history that they would, and they find it fascinating, right? Because if you do it in a fun way, right? Yeah. So we'll play a game and go to a museum or historical site or let them research on, it's exactly the same with one of the periods of history I'm also very passionate about is the Roman invasion of Britain, and the role of the Celts or the Celts. And again, that's not something that's taught a lot of Boudica, because I'm from this part of the country where the Iceni would have been based.
Boudica or Boadicea? There's about 10 ways to pronounce her name. So
Boudica. And again, the kids find it fascinating because you can play. I mean, something like that. I'd probably play with miniatures with them. So we've got massive Roman armies and Celt armies and chariots and all that sort of stuff.
You're lucky.
And it's a fun thing to do.
It's great if you've got a table full of Roman and Picts or Celts or whatever. It's going to be great. I mean, nearest I've come to it is insisted my son. We watched Dust Boot.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And with subtitles, because you've got to watch it with subtitles. You can't watch it with the dubbing because it ruins it.
Goodness me, no.
You're with you there. So we're watching it, and he's quite impressed. When they're being depth charged and all this sort of thing. And so he come away from that, especially when they all got killed at the end. He come away from that like very thoughtful. And then the following week we played the Hunters.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So I said, "You remember the film?" He goes, "Yeah, yeah." 2 turns in, he gets sunk.
Oh dear.
But I'm hoping what a lesson in history, that when he was being depth charged, I said, "Do you remember that in the film when it was all?" And he going, "Yeah, yeah, yeah. How'd you get out of it, Dad? You got to roll this." No, not that, not that.
Oh dear, oh dear.
Yeah, but that was great fun. So
yeah. And then with the sort of hex and counter war games, I would play Command and Colors with my kids or Memoir with my kids.
Yeah.
Those games from Academy are really good, like really good. The sort of Birth of series from Academy are great because you can play those 4 or 5 player, and they have an interesting mechanic where 2 of you will be on the same side, but you're controlling different forces. So, and you can, when you move your forces, you can move your colleagues' forces as well, even though they might not want you to. And so it has this quite interesting, really fun sort of team dynamic.
You don't get any of this thing. Get off. No.
It's quite light. So I would probably pick out. I mean, obviously the War of Independence one's really good, but we particularly enjoy the 878, which is the Vikings, and that's a lot of fun. So I'll play those with my kids, and then I have played ASL with them as well, and that's fun.
Speaking of playing all these different games, what kind of do you like? The grand strategic games? Do you like the tactical games? Do you like the operational games? What's kind of your sweet spot?
Oh, it's really difficult. I think I do play a lot
on the game.
It does depend. I do play a lot of tactical games.
Yeah.
So because I like I said, I played squad leader back in the day. I've probably played, of all the games I've got, if I thought how many just on the play count, what's the game I've played the most? Probably ASL. But I also enjoy I do enjoy the lighter games like that. So Band of Brothers or Conflict of Heroes. There aren't, the only tactical level game I haven't got is 100 Yards. I think that's the only one I haven't got in my collection.
Yeah, I've got that on P500 for when it turns up again, just to have a go at it. Have you tried Lock and Load Tactical?
Yeah, I've got Lock and Load Tactical. And I enjoy that, and I'll play them all and enjoy them all for different reasons. Yeah. And then I do like the 40 series, so Holland and Normandy. I do like those. So they're a completely different scale.
Ones.
Yeah.
Best game you played this year, Matt?
Sorry, Jess.
Best game you played this year?
Oh, it's been published this year.
No, just best game you played this year.
Oh, that's a good.
I asked the good questions. Ruff just rambles on.
Oh, I'm just look down the road from me. It's all right.
Oh, that's a good.
What have you done, Matt? What have you done to your hair? What's all this then? What's all this? Is it the last Mohican? What's going on here?
You tried to get on the front cover of.
I'm only saying that because I'm jealous, because you can. All right.
It is going quite grey though. I'll be honest with you. My hair's gone quite.
Sorry,
I'll be honest with you. I've just got in magnificent style. I got it from Second Chance Game. I bought it from them, and I really like it.
It's in stock there, is it?
It's in stock. Yeah, Second Chance Games have got it in stock.
Mark Loopman, Herman Loopman design there.
Some geezer, can't remember. Yeah.
I've really enjoyed that, and so yeah.
What's the other one you really enjoyed? And because of your recommendation, I'm trying to get hold of a copy. It's out of print. The German with the long counters, the tanks. Chad Jensen game.
Fighting formations.
Yes.
Yeah, fighting formations. Right.
Yeah, that's
You
good.
like that, don't you? Now,
I do. Platoon scale games. So
yeah, I like platoon scale games, but
Yeah.
there's a second edition, isn't there?
Not that I know of.
no, not that I know of.
There's a like a
There's
expansion
an
to it.
expansion.
Yeah.
I
there's-
thought there was a second printing, maybe,
Oh no, I don't know
it could
about that.
be. I don't know.
because I got hold of looked at a Fighting Formations first off the press thing,
Yeah.
and I'm thinking, are there lots of errata between that and the second printing? And I was going to ask you, as it's one of your fave games, whether or not that's the case.
I
Because
don't.
it was going for 35 quid.
Right. Okay. I thought. I mean, it is. Yeah. I mean, it is one of my favourite platoon scale games. As far as I know, there was only one version, so I don't know.
Okay, I could be wrong. Well, I should have gone
I don't
for
know.
it. If he puts it up again, I'm having it. And do I like Bug River? It's bloody long, isn't it? I'm so glad I didn't make the mistake of playing the full campaign game. Because I think that would take at least 9 or 10 hours to get into the second term.
Especially when you milk it. Good Lord.
But as a game, I know it's got its pros and cons, and I know people love it, and I know people don't like it. I know the system from Crossing the Line Arkan, and I know Matt likes that game as well.
Yeah, I like that game a lot.
And that's the similar sort of thing. Yeah, it's a long game. Yeah, it's not going to be videoed all the way through. But as a game with these mechanics, I love it.
Say it. Yes.
There we go. Well done.
I just like the mechanics. I like the company. I like Patrick. You know, they're all nice geezers, and it's they send me the games. What am I going to say? But no, I love the components. They are a bit slippy, Mo. I do agree with you there. Bit slippy. I'll say that a couple of times in my video.
RJL's pulled the trigger on Warfighter World War II.
That's another game I love. Oh, sorry.
I haven't played Warfighter. That's a game I do not have.
Oh, crikey.
Really?
Again, it's a game. You've got to be careful.
No, I don't have it.
But because you rabbit holes, lots of expansions. You can pick up the core games quite okay. It's 40, 50 quid, I think. Give it a go. I mean, I've done my first video on this channel 2 years ago. My very first video was Warfighter, World War II.
Oh wow! Okay, I didn't know that.
That's how I came across Growth. I was watching his Warfighter videos. I think probably freaking learn how to play this game if I could understand what the hell this dude was saying half the time.
Yeah, I'm talking a bit like that. Talking a bit geezer. Yeah, so.
So I'm like, I got to get him on the show so I can see if he can pronounce his words properly.
It's like any game. It's like this game. It's like this game. Like this game. Any game. It has its people that love it and people that nah. Some say it's a beer and pretzels. I think it's a bit more than that. It's got its problems with the rule book, maybe, but as a game narrative, what I love about it, I think. Gimpy as well. The best bit is picking your squad.
Right. Sure. Yeah.
Pick a mission. Then you pick your squad with the points you have depending on the mission, and you pick your weapons. You pick your team. You pick this. What you're going to come across. Do I need grenades? Yeah, you always need grenades. So, so you pick your squad and off you go. And 9 times out of 10, you're not going to make it. And it's great fun. It's very Hollywoody. It's not a simulation. It's
right. Okay.
Then again, it's like D-Day dice. It's not real, but it's great fun. Right. And Warfighter is another good game. I've got it's all behind this table here. I've got the Warfighter chest full of cards, expansions, and I've got a wooden MDF box that I got for Arkham Horror that I was going to collect.
Yeah,
I'm using it. It's now full of Warfighter stuff, and I haven't got all the stuff, and they're bringing out more.
Right.
Oh,
You
yeah.
don't need it.
They're gonna milk that till the milk runs dry.
They're bringing out Pacific One again, and a sort of
Yeah.
this. But you have to sort of stop when you want to stop. You know, you buy the core game and you think, right, I'll get some more Americans, or I'll get the Brits, or I'll get the paratroopers, and that's it. You know.
Yeah.
What we did, me and Blue Tweezers did a co-op, because you can play it co-op. 2 people can play it.
Okay. Yep.
And we did a couple of live versions of that. We did a modern one. We did a World War II one. Great fun. If that's what you want, yeah. It's not Case Blue. So
Right.
it's great fun.
Do you play games besides war games? I mean, you play other kinds of games and stuff.
Sure. Yeah. We play a lot of miniature games, which I would call war games. Hey, Tony.
Hey. Yeah, game went long. It also rained, so I'm still wet. You can kind of see.
Don't talk about rain. It's been raining, Matt, isn't it? Since 7 o'clock.
Raining, yeah, all day.
Raining non-stop.
Not stop.
Thank God you're here, Tony. Maybe you can help interpret what the hell they're saying half the time.
I'll try. I'll do what I can.
So to answer your question, Jester, miniature games. So we play a lot of.
Show everyone your mech, if you don't mind. I want to see that mech again.
Sorry.
If you don't mind, can you show everyone your painted mech?
Oh, do you mean the tank?
Your 40K thing.
Your 40K mech.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So we do play a lot of 40K. That's a chaos.
Look at the state of that.
Look at that.
40K. We do play a lot of 40K. So I've been painting some Blood Angels for Warhammer to play my son's Necrons, which we'll probably play tomorrow. But
sorry, Matt, just remind me. Can I just say, I've got the original rules for Warhammer 40K that I bought when they came out, and I gave them to my son. I went, treat this wisely, son. And it's in his bookshelf. It's gone, stop that. Right. Anyway, go on.
It might be worth $1 million some point. So you do minis.
Do minis. It's a lot of historical minis. So 28 mil, 6 mil, 10 mil. Mostly I would call sort of the black powder era. So Napoleonics, English Civil War, sort of pike and shot. And then ancients, Romans, Celts, Greeks, all periods of history really, and all different scales. And then we will play. I was looking at my other sort of cabinet in front of me. We'll do some, the family fun stuff, like a lot of people do. Bit of role playing, Dungeons and Dragons, card games, magic, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, lots of games. Yeah, quite game centric family, I would describe. I mean, mostly play with family and friends. So
I'd like to be, but because the way the family's organised and things going on, it's very hard for us to get together. But
sure, yeah.
Hey, I got my daughter to play Command and Colors Ancients.
Command and Colors.
And you wish you hadn't, eh? And you wish you hadn't.
Yeah, she, as Dan said this morning, she creamed me. Then she pretty much so did.
Is the other word he uses? Shellacked.
Shellacked. Yeah, it was fun though. I really enjoyed doing the Command and Colors because I see it behind you. So, but yeah, I played with her about 2 or 3 years ago, and then we started up again, and now she wants a couple of her friends want to see the game now too, so they want to learn the game. So I'm trying to get that youth into the wargaming. So yeah, definitely.
Yep. We certainly need that injection.
Yes, Mo. Yeah. She beat me like a rented mule. Hi, Mo. Yeah. RJL. Hi. Thanks for noticing that I showed up. Yeah. So.
It was fun though. It was a good time.
Yeah, it was family time. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I am coaching her, helping her coach her soccer team. It gives us more time together. So and she enjoys it. And I kept my voice, as you guys, I've kept my screaming down.
I hope you see, being a vocal coach, you should have asked me for a few, use the diaphragm. Diaphragm.
I used to play music. I used to play trombone, so I know about using the diaphragm. So
just keep this open. Drain pipe.
Yeah, I use my teacher voice, and that actually takes care of that. So yeah. Hey, Blue. Hey,
Blue.
yeah, Moten.
Hey, Blue.
Blue
This
tweet
man
bears.
Blue,
All
is
right.
teaching me the great battles of the American Civil War because I've got Death Valley as part of the
Okay.
GMT SAL. I thought, why
Right,
not have a go? A bit like Men of Iron, tons of stuff. GBO, like oh crikey, SPQR, tons of stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about it. Let's have a go. And he's teaching me. Poor sod.
Yeah, I
And
feel
when is
for
your
him.
next session on that?
That's Sunday, all being well. And I might get a go. You see, this is the other thing you've got to watch with Tweez. He's a bit crafty. He will pick it, goes, I'll tell you what, you know nothing about the game. We'll pick this scenario, Rutherford's Farm. Yeah, okay. It's a nice small map. Yeah, lovely. Okay. And what happens there? Well, you make a rushed a sort of attack on the farm, and you didn't think anybody was going to know about it. So all your artillery is pushed forward, which you wouldn't do normally. Would you keep it back, don't you? You keep your artillery back and sort of plop. So his artillery is plopping my artillery that's stuck at the front. And if you watch it, I haven't let it go yet. So
Every time you play with the Blue Tweezers, he picks his side that's got the
No, it's great
overwhelming
fun.
advantage.
we
Every
had great
time.
fun. So that's carrying on Sunday, and hopefully I can get a bit of payback on when it's my go. But yeah, it's great fun. It's
He
a
spends
weird- it's a
an hour and a
really
half
weird
teaching he spends an
Sorry.
hour and a half teaching the game, and then an hour and a half in his turn, and then it's the end of the episode. And you're like,
Where do I go?
I didn't get to do anything.
Next time, Ruff. But you just beat 3 shades of Dewberry Wasp name out of my artillery. There we go. No, it's good fun. It's good fun. It's really different. It's, as you said, Tony, it's SPQR, Great Battles of History.
Yep.
With a little bit of knob on.
Yeah. It's if you got the ideas behind it, it really does help. I love the chit draw.
Yeah.
To me, that makes the game so much fun. I'm actually looking at there's the Into the Woods is coming out, and for my trip in April, we're actually looking. Me and a gentleman named Braxton, who jumps on every once in a while. We're going to actually be playing that. We're going to play the whole Shiloh battle. We'll be doing it from Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We'll be playing during the day all day, and it's a smaller battle, luckily. So I think we'll be able to get it in those 3 days. So it's a monster, but I don't think it's that big of a monster. So that'll be a good one to get through for sure.
Our subject for today, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, is art in wargaming. How important is it?
Oh, art doesn't matter.
I know.
Counter quality doesn't matter. Maps don't matter. I don't care if your tanks are drawn with just a square and a.
Which we'll talk about in a little while. What's the most important part of that sentence?
Sorry, Matt. I couldn't help.
He said this for an hour, so don't worry about it. You know.
Before we talk about that, let's go ahead and talk about Matt and your games. And so you're now a game designer as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I've done. Let me just think. Top of my head, I've done 1, 2. I don't know. Probably. Yeah, I've self-published about 6 or 7 games now.
What do you think your name is? Matt Herman.
So yes, it's kept me busy. Yeah, I've always sort of self-published my own games. Yes.
So if somebody was interested to find out, how would somebody find your games?
Right. So the first games that I did were a card game, and I have sold them all, every single one of them, and I'll probably reprint them next year, maybe with some load of new card art.
Will you put the PDFs up so people can be silly and like me and print them themselves? You know.
Yeah, I might do. The I mean, they're set up at the minute for the all the files set for the printers, and then the printer.
What is the card games? What's the theme?
It's World War II.
Oh, okay.
They are. Let's pick one. That is one with the. Tanks.
Oh, hey, we've seen that picture somewhere before.
Yes.
I think you're.
There it is.
I believe you're using somebody else's art. I hope you.
There it is. And there's a
Yeah.
panther on the back. Panther on the back. So tiger on the front, panther on the back. There's two of those. Another tiger. That one has Zimmerit on it.
I
A
don't
word
see
of
any
advice.
flowers
A word
in a
for
bag.
advice. There's no flowers. It's worse than flowers. It's Zimmerit. Word of advice to any would-be artist. Zimmerit on a tank is a nightmare to draw.
Ooh.
A nightmare. Then in addition to those games, I've done there is 3 print and play until the bitter end games. And then I have just done the Kickstarter, although I've yet to fulfill it, which I promised I will do by the end of October, my latest game.
Got the Bitter End and Chosen Road. I've got to do a playthrough Bitter End as well when I get round it.
Yeah.
To it as well.
And you can get other games directly from me. Just ping me on Board Game Geek or Facebook.
Great.
What's the name of the Kickstarter game?
On Kickstarter. So if you go to Kickstarter and type in The Road Chosen, you will.
Chosen.
Sorry, I called it the Chosen Road.
So quite all right.
You've been a bit arty with that. Yeah, no, that's fine.
Then
Let's show somebody else's game off. Oh, this one?
let's have a look.
There you go.
there
What I'm
is.
talking about. The man there. Look at him. Look.
There you go.
So,
There it is.
There you
There it
go.
is.
573 backers pledged 9,394 quids.
Oh,
Quids.
The beers are on you,
What you guys are using over there now.
Quids. That's it. That's it.
Oh.
quids.
So you
Is
can.
that- is that your artwork there, Matt?
Yeah, so all the counter art, all the map art. I've got to. I just finished a Panzer III piece of art for a new counter recently. I'm doing a Hetzer counter at the minute, and I've got another map to do. And then I've just got to sanity check everything like a million times.
It says here estimated delivery October 2021.
2021. Yeah.
Okay. My estimated delivery was for my Kickstarters were November 2019. Guess how many I've received so far? 0.
Well, I think it's. I mean, I think the Kickstarter platform is a great platform for independent creators, and I think without it, it would be hard for us to get our games funded and done and put in front of people. Obviously, there are a lot of bigger publishers that use Kickstarter, and that's up to them. And the Kickstarter platform lets them do that. So, and it is I completely agree. It's a leap of faith for everyone, right? If you're going to back the game, and I've done a few now on Kickstarter. If you're going to back the game, it's a leap of faith somewhat that the person who is going to
Yep. Thanks, Mo.
Thanks. Yeah. No, Mo. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. But thanks for the idea. So, yeah, I've got that to finish up, and that's my latest one. And then I've got a couple more that I'm sort of just finishing up for my next one.
But the thing is, Matt, they know they're going to get the game, unlike the ones that Jester's waiting for. They know you back it. They don't. Oh, yeah, darling. They don't cost very much, and you're going to get it. Okay, you've got to print it, but you're going to get it. And so there's no problem.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, within our hobby as war game, it's a fairly small. It is what it is. So obviously, if you're going to make a war game for someone, it's in everyone's interest to make sure you do a good job on it. Do you know what I mean?
Everybody knows everybody.
Everyone knows everyone, right?
As I found out very quickly.
The road looks like a Western Front American versus German battle.
Yep. Is
there scenario based or is it point by? What is it?
No, it's scenario based. It's a solitaire game, and it's
a solitaire game.
Solitaire game. And it's a solitaire game where the key thing I wanted to prove out with the game, the key thing I wanted to show was about the decision-making process. So in the game, you have a certain amount of information. Everything you do, you have a decision to make every single time, but you cannot do all the things you would want to do. You have to make pretty tough decisions. And depending on the scenario, you can play either as the Americans, the British Airborne, the American Airborne. You can play as the Germans. You can play the Fallschirmjäger.
And this thing is a tenner, Matt, isn't it?
Yeah, it's £10.
It's a tenner, and you have to print it out. But look at that. Look,
it's £10. So I wanted all the games of some of the things. So certainly here in the UK, I can't speak for people in North America and other different places, but the board-based war games here are not that cheap, I would say. So yeah, making them fairly as inexpensive as possible. So there's, for example, that's some of the counter arts. That's a Marder, and I always sort of show people work in progress as I'm going along. And then there's different covers. So for
Who's
each
this guy?
and then he goes bonkers, and he says, "Oh, I've just decided to do another 23 maps for you."
So the maps take a lot. The maps do take a long time. Some of the counter art takes a long time. And
is this a print and play, or is it actual?
It's print and play. Yeah, it's a print and play. So I've really found sort of a good groove, I think I would say, into making and developing print and play games. I really enjoy it. It means I can focus just on the creation rather than the production. I have had publishers reach out to me and say, "Hey, we'll print it for you." At the minute, I'm quite happy doing them print and play. That may be something I look at next year, because I have printed my own games and self-published my own games. So I might look at doing printed games next year.
The other thing is, because they're print and play, you make it as easy as possible for people.
That's key. Absolutely key. Because when I buy print and play games, I don't want to be printed out.
What's going on here?
Yeah. So you can, with my games, you can print out literally a handful of sheets of A4 or letter paper, and you'll be able to start making the game, and it's all done from
you
that.
guys as well. He thinks of us, the A4s. He thinks of you, letter size. See,
I sort of developed that for this game's been in development for quite a long time, and it's an area movement game. I guess you could call it a little bit like Queen of the Skies, but at a ground level, you're commanding troops and tanks. And I love Queen of the Skies. This is a game about decisions. It's about making decisions. You have really, really difficult decisions to make.
And
you're not going to win often, are you?
You get the road chosen. You get until.
So you could when this Kickstarter was running, you could basically buy all my print and play games for £30, which is like four games. 4 games, 2 infantry, 1 tank, and then this one.
And can you still get that deal?
If anyone was to reach out, I'm sure I'd be able to do that. Yes. There you go. You see.
Now
that's British pounds, right?
That's British pounds.
I mean, that's proper money in American dollars. That's 30 quids, and that's about what $40,
$45.
$40 odd,
somewhere around there.
Yeah, something like that.
The road chosen goes with the other games.
They're all standalone. Some of they're all
standalone. Okay.
Yeah, they're all standalone. You get everything you need.
You did bring out a free one.
Yeah, there is. So for anyone,
the plane.
Yeah. So when we were, so at the beginning of the pandemic, I was lucky. I was already working from home, so I was already well set up with my day job from home. But I was really aware that a lot of people playing war games either couldn't get to see their friends or they couldn't get to the shops, whatever. So I released a free version of my Until the Bitter End game, where you got like a map, counters, just a few sheets of paper is all you need to print out, all the rules you need. It's on Board Game Geek right now. So if you go to the Geek and you just type Until the Bitter End, it's a free game there for everyone. It's still there. I've never taken it down.
And it uses the full rules.
It uses all the core rules. There are some rules doesn't, there's no vehicles in that one, for example, and it's got a very specific scenario of a crashed glider, and you have a small squad of men that you have to keep alive.
But if they go and get that, that will give them a good idea of the sort of game it is.
You
The
can
game
print
that you design,
You can print it out. You just print it, stick it to some bits of card. You don't have to spend a fortune. I print all the games out here at home when I'm doing all the play testing, so it can be very inexpensive, fun, little game, and
it's free, and
It's
it will
free.
give you
Is
a
it
good
dice
idea.
based? Is it card driven, or like you
It's
use cards
dice.
to do
No,
things?
it's
dice. Okay.
Oh, and a reason for my gravity dice. Okay, yeah. That's
yeah,
cool.
you can use you can absolutely you can use those. So yeah.
Have you told the wife about them yet?
What?
Have you told the wife about them yet? How
Yeah,
much they cost?
yeah. I didn't tell how much they cost, but yeah, she doesn't ask anymore. So
No, she knows. They just give up, don't they? They
Mhm.
just give up. They go, oh yeah.
It's another one of his things. I'm buying camera equipment now for videoing and stuff like that. So that stuff comes in, and so we had an issue in the past, and so I found it's just easier to just say, "Hey, I got this," and
And just make a list of how much it costs, not what you told her it costs. So when you pop off, she can go, "Oh, that's not so bad then." Kids, we're on holiday.
yeah. That trip to Hawaii the kids want, no problem.
Yeah. So you're finishing up this Kickstarter, but you said you got another game in the works, or you're working on it.
So I think after the next one I do will be based on the Hellhawks. So that's going to be flying jugs and knocking out tigers and German trucks and trains. Those I mean, it was very dangerous flying, and the casualty rates of those pilots was
because they're flying very low and
they're flying very low,
being shot at and all that sort of thing. Yeah,
the Germans might not have had the great air superiority at that point, but they had quite a lot of flak, and they were using delayed timers on their fuses of their bombs. Sometimes that didn't work. And there was the physical natural obstacles, and they were flying very, 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 very low. But those planes,
so you can.
They were the original tank busters then.
Yeah, effectively, the A-10 Warthog was very much inspired by those planes. And you can go into YouTube and you can watch footage of the planes hitting tanks. They had a lot of the 50 cals that they had, and because of the velocity of the plane and the velocity, and it was yes, it was quite something. And it's a pretty untold. I mean, the book, like I said, for those who haven't read it, it is Hellhawks, the untold story.
You're taking a leaf out of David's book, aren't you? Picking
something that hadn't really been done. It's a great book. It's a really great. It's a very sobering experience. No two ways about it. But the
war book should be.
The P-47 again. Everyone thinks of the World War II planes. Everyone's going to think of the Mustang. They're going to think of the Spitfire, and so forth. But the P-47 definitely it deserves a lot more credit than it gets, I think. And
the problem is, Matt, because I know what you're like. You've got these games, right, when I get this one out of the way, we're going to do this. But no, when this one comes to an end, you'll suddenly say, oh, I've just discovered it's another 10 scenarios. Here's 16 more maps.
Here's 16 more maps, Here's another 10 counter types that we want to do. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, it's true. It is true. That's
what I love about it, because you think, oh, he's given us more. You've paid a tenner. So
I mean, I've always enjoyed sort of giving people a lot more content with the stretch goals, and just keep producing the work.
I remember it from the bitter end. You kept
more maps, more
downloading stuff. It's brilliant.
But I think it's important because as you know, as a keen sort of hobbyist, it's doing the work makes you better at at the work, you know. So it's yeah, I fundamentally enjoy it, you know. And it does take quite a bit of time, but again, it keeps me out of mischief.
And it's nutters like you that keep us amused.
Yeah, I guess that's probably true.
Thank you for that.
Probably true. So yeah, I'll probably do that, and then I think Uwe keeps talking to me about some more games that Academy want to do.
Does he?
I'm not. I've just.
Come on, Matt. Come on.
I did quite a lot of work for his 1940 game. So this is the next in the Conflict of Heroes series, and it's France and the Lowlands 1940.
Have you played any of that series? I haven't.
No, I played them all. So interesting.
What do you reckon?
So I love them, and one of the reasons, I mean, in fairness, Uwe, I think he was probably the first publisher that ever contacted me and said, I've just seen you work on, I think it was on Solitaire Wargaming or something, and would you be interested in having you work in the game? And I had played Conflict of Heroes, and I played his other games. In fact, Academy games were, partly because of their mission statement around helping people understand history through games, I always just really resonated really well with me. So when he reached out, I was like, yeah, absolutely. There was no question in my mind at all, you know, that would be great, because I liked the game. I genuinely really liked the game, and I genuinely really liked what he was trying to do with Academy games, you know. So yeah, it was it was very straightforward. Yeah, the games are great. They're very, he's got a really good eye for keeping the player agency. So the amount of time I have to wait before it's my turn is really short in his games, which is great. So when you're playing with other people, and his Solitaire bot engine,
which is what Lock and Load Tactical
is the same one for Lock and. They basically license that off Academy Games. Is brilliant. Yeah,
brilliant,
yeah. I love all their games. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I'll have to contact Uwe and see if he'll send me some, because I haven't played it. Shut up, you.
Yeah, they're great.
I love it. Look at that stuff.
You don't have a big enough shelf left.
I've got some spaces there.
And I'll tell you something else. I think Academy are great
boxes.
I think
there's not much errata, is there?
No, that they make the best, in my opinion, one of the best rule books for introducing you to the game.
Do this, play this.
Yes,
now
it's literally
that's
really
how
good.
But that's what I like about, say, for instance, Jeremy White's rule books.
Yeah, sure.
Do this, play this, and by the end of it, you've learned the game.
Yeah,
and that's how they should be, isn't it? Yes.
And they look gorgeous. Like as soon as you get Conflict of Heroes, the new 3rd edition of Conflict here on the table, it looks amazing. The quality of the components is awesome. Plus, it's got my art in the rule book.
It's got your little pickies in it as well.
It's got my pickies in the rule book. Yeah. So I was really happy with those games, and just being involved in those games. It was great. Yes, I'll always.
Sorry. The wife's been out watching a movie. She's watching a drive-in movie. We've got drive-in movies over here. I can't understand it, because they sort of went out of fashion in the 60s, 70s over in your part of the world, because you're listening to you're watching something on a screen with a little speaker. Okay, you've got an app now where you can listen to it, but you're listening through your phone. It's peeing down over here. The wind is terrible. So that's why it's died out. People like comfort, yeah? But she's back now. She looks a bit windblown, and she's talking to me. So I'm going to mute for a minute, and you carry on. Thank you, loves.
I've just seen Blue Tweezer's comment about the Hawker Typhoon expansion. That sounds really good.
Hey, Blue, if you really want to do it, you should do it.
Yeah,
that's anytime you hear a design, when you like give a suggestion to most designers, they're like, "That's a good idea. Go ahead and do it."
What's Tweez going on about now? What have I missed?
Hawker Typhoons. The Hawker Typhoon is again another incredible. Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right,
maybe what I should
you
do
guys
is
can keep yakking about this all day, but we're trying to stay focused today,
Sorry.
people. Come on now.
artists
All
are
right,
known
it's
for this.
already 5:20, which now means we have a half an hour left to talk about our main subject today, art. Art in wargaming, right? So we've talked about
All right.
talked about
It's
this
Panzer Grenadier. I
many,
know
many
what that is.
times, right?
Yeah.
Panzer Grenadier is horrible and good on the same map. The map is horrible. The counters are not too bad.
The counters are great. The game is great.
Yeah, but the newer maps actually look pretty good. I will admit that.
I know. I look through that when I play Panzer Grenadier, and I've got to play Panzer Grenadier.
Your mic's not on, Jester.
Thank goodness.
Thank you.
We missed all of that.
How can somebody
Take
produce
sharing.
something like this and send it out to people and say, "Hey, here's our
No.
game"?
I
Right?
tell you, you know what? As a
People
biologist,
have had the hardest time getting into Panzer Grenadier until they started coming up with halfway decent looking components and maps. And
show us that map again. Now, anybody studying biology, that looks part of the kidney.
Looks like what?
You know what I'm talking about. If you know, yeah. Yeah. But I see through that.
What do we think about art in games and how important is it? Sure, this is usable, this is doable, and actually having a clean, clear area to put your counters, the counters stand out more and makes the game, could make the game more easy to play. Right?
You're being kind. You're being kind. You have to look through it and just play the game.
There's functional art, and then there's aesthetic art, and they are in two different categories.
And you think,
most maps can be functional. Sometimes they get too artistic and they're not functional. And there's a particular designer,
you dare say his name.
Rest his soul.
God
I
bless his
like
soul.
looking at his maps, but I cannot play on them.
I love them.
I still bought them though, but because it's a game.
Oh, sorry. No, but I do.
Yeah, I almost picked up a bit of coffee on the way home just to warm me
you
up.
didn't bring your drink.
I emptied it already. I was yelling. So,
good Lord.
But no. So art. When it comes to maps, like the old 70s maps were extremely functional, but they weren't very good looking, and a lot of that had to do with the technology.
You're right. They had certain colors to work with, certain technologies to work with. But when you play on a game from the 70s, 80s, even into the 90s, you're playing sort of retro. You know what you're getting. Yeah, you're playing it, and you're loving the game, and you're loving the map because it's from your youth. But I get what you're saying. No excuse nowadays. It's gone quiet. What I said.
Counter art, to me, counter art is more vital than map art. Because if you don't have the right counter colors with the right text print art, because that's all part of art. That's all part of the art.
You see, again, being colorblind, color isn't very important to me. All I've got to do is distinguish between the different bloody formations.
Here's what I'm talking about on this is having a dark background with a dark navy print. Things like that, where it's like people that aren't colorblind even have trouble.
Yes.
Reading it.
We're talking sort of back then. Yes.
I've seen some ones recently. That
you shouldn't do. You have a red counter with black lettering. That's a no-no. Because even Jester has trouble with these new clip-on bionic things. Yeah, he would have trouble.
I can't read.
I've got to get a pair of them.
I do agree, Michael. that map art is important when line of sight comes into play. That's extremely important. You can't have fuzziness on a line of sight map. But yeah.
The problem with
I agree
NATO
with that.
symbols is if you're not a fan, everybody is sort of used to them, and with systems like Grand Tactical System, they use the symbols that were current for that country at that time, and people are going, "What's this then?" and I have to look it up. I don't mind it because I have to look it up, but most people are used to NATO symbols. Don't you think?
Yeah, I would say so. I would say so. I think you get used to there's certain design languages that are you can lean as a designer and artist you can lean into knowing that
I know baldricks mean infantry with the NATO symbols. Yeah. So you learn them, you're used to them. What else you're going to use? Unless it's GTS and you're using, like the only GTS one I've got is No Surrender. And that uses actually the symbols that they were using at the time for the Germans. What the heck is that?
Can art make it so that it's more enjoyable for you to play the game because it's more enjoyable to look at?
Yeah, Brian Patterson puts a good comment down there.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it makes it much more immersive. Yeah. So
for earlier games, you make excuses, like the Panzer Grenadier maps, like the old maps from the 60s, from the 70s, 80s, 90s. You make excuses. But now there's no excuse. The whole thing is the counter art, the map art, the walls. These games aren't cheap. So, like Matt's stuff, you're getting it's the maps, tanks.
I think a lot of it is about as the creators, what sort of, for me anyway, the tone of what the piece is as to what the aesthetics and the design language you want to use. And then as long as it's consistent and there's good readability, then what Brian's talking about is that sort of extra layer of immersion that can really help if that's the tone that you're looking to achieve, So for example, because I grew up playing Squad Leader, I quite like the art style of Advanced Squad Leader, right? Because it means something to me, and it has those tonal textures to me, right? And I also I admire a lot of the art of the modern games, So, but it's got to be as from a gamer's point of view, it has to be readable. You have to be able.
Yeah,
I'm gonna share my screen here. So, Jester, I want to show you a map that was going to be released within the past couple years, and I want you to tell me what you guys think of it. Now, it was changed, but I want you guys to see what you think of it.
I'm waiting.
We're waiting. While we're waiting,
yeah.
What you said about Squad Leader and Advanced Squad Leader, they don't do anything for me. But Panzer Grenadier, because I love the game, I will be, I'll forget it and just look through it. What the heck?
Yeah, sure.
What the heck's
that? One ugly map.
That is the Finnish Civil War by Paper Wars. That was 4 years ago. And if you look right here, you can see who actually brought it up. It was Big Board. So
Kev, he would do, wouldn't he? And I don't blame him. Do you know what that reminds me of? That reminds me of one of those things you play on the old mobiles where they all drop down on different doobries. Yeah.
So this was legit gonna be released this way. They did actually eventually change it because Kev really brought it up and was going to bring it, but that's like absolutely just atrocious that it would make it that far that map art was released.
That would have been, yeah.
Yeah.
But I
I
can
don't know.
understand people like Herman saying we wanted to play his new game on Tabletop Simulator. He's going, no, it's only sort of prototype stuff. We're going, that'll be all right. But the punters will go, they'll look at it and go, oh, that's rubbish. And he's quite right. And I can understand why he's saying that, because looking at that, people will go, geez. And if we played it on Tabletop Simulator with his sort of prototype art, he would, people will go, even if you tell them a million times, it's only us playing Herman's artwork.
So this was the actual release. This is actually what the game actually looks like.
Yeah, much
when
better.
they released it.
Yeah.
Much, much better. But this was 4 years ago. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's pretty generic for 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm. It is a magazine game, so I'm not going to be super but a map can be, and that's because they got flack because of the other map.
Yeah, and quite rightly so.
When you put the two together, you're like, hey, this isn't so bad. But it's still,
they listened to their public, and that's the thing, isn't it? As a designer and a publisher, if you don't listen to your public, you're going to go down the toilet, aren't you? So,
yeah, no, absolutely. I think Jester makes a good point, which is about
really.
I think he does.
I always make good points.
I think he makes a good point where he described it as generic, and I think that for me, if you said to me, what do I think makes a good art in a war game? I would say if I could see the art and I know what the game is and it feels unique.
Yeah.
So that you own your style, as it were. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. That's so when you see that, it's like when people I've seen people go, okay, tell me where what game this counter comes from. And it's just a generic counter. It's kind of hard.
If it's one of Matt's, I'll know it immediately.
Exactly.
If it's a map, I know immediately it's Matt's.
And also, why can't you have silhouettes or pictures on your counters? An armor counter. Obviously, you should be able to have that. So yeah. That's a big one, Mike, for sure. That's what you look at something. Because I always look for new releases, and I love looking at the artwork and going, oh, that just looks awesome. So
now the thing is, with Roger's artwork on the counters, you know what you're getting, and you know it's going to be good stuff. But it's all a Roger counter when you see it, don't you?
Yes.
But he's tweaked that over many years. And they do look good. I don't care. SPQR looks a little similar to Men of Iron, looks a little similar to, Death Valley. But you know what you're getting. You're happy, I think.
It's still pretty good art. I would say they're not generic.
Good art. Yes, you're happy. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, because they're not like symbols. They're actually, character. I can't even think. What am I? Silhouettes. They're silhouettes.
Oh, no, they're little pickies. Pickies.
Yeah. You have elephants on the elephant counter.
The problem is you got the 9/16 there, and you got their great Death Valley. I've got millions of these bloody counters. I've got a clip and I've got a saw, and they're like this, and I've got to get a pair of them just to look at the counters. I mean, I'm not as old as Jester, but it's I've got to get a pair of them, and I think I'm quite near Matt's age, but I've got to get a pair of them. So that's half inch. There's tons of them.
Man, Matt, you almost got me wanting to buy. I just looked up Conflict of Heroes just to.
No, get the Road Chosen. Buy that. Solitaire.
I think, it's interesting that the artist is sitting back, listening to the discussion.
I know.
This is before we had this discussion with a million people, and he wants to see what we're going to say. What does the artist have to say? Obviously, you think art is obviously going to be important, but why what makes it? I mean, what makes it vitally important in wargaming to have good art? Why is it important?
I think what it can do, what it can achieve, I think it can connect the player to the game at a more emotional level. And I think that the gamer may not be aware of that, but I think you're connected to the game a lot more. I think it makes the game feel more of a higher value, a perceived value. And I think that it helps, especially with games that are narrative led, can help you connect to the story that the game's trying to tell you, whether that's historical story or whatever, right? I think that it does require, the people working on it to have, an understanding of the core principles of art. So color palettes, color wheel theory, all the composition, all these sort of things that are techniques as artists we use all the time. And you can see sometimes with a lot of war games, they're, for whatever reason, they're just, that's one of the key things for me. Yeah.
Now, yes, I completely agree with you. Games like MBT and Panzer, which I'm really looking forward to getting because of the game, maps look like something out of. Remember the old series map Rainbow? It looks a little bit, you know. Yeah, he knows what I'm talking about. They look a bit. Who gave that person that color palette? They may have reasons to do it, but so what's your thoughts on that? I'm still going to get the game because I want to learn the game. It looks a great game, but the maps, what do you think?
I think it's probably because I don't think, as an artist, you want to put yourself in a position where you've got something to say through your work.
It's right? Like I designed them.
So, and that's the skill. That's the skill.
It's really bright blue water.
If it's water, it's got to be bright blue, so we know it's water.
Blue, ultramarine. But yeah, no, joking apart, I mean, and I can look through that again like I do with Panzer Grenadiers earlier maps.
Yeah, sure.
Why would they do that?
Probably. I mean, the thing is,
on the spot, but I'm,
I think sometimes we use the word art in war games, and sometimes it's what we're really meaning is graphic design, or we're using cartography, or we're using, art. Do you know what I mean? Like you could define art as something that would be put in a gallery, right? So there's not many war game. There are definitely some war game content that you could put in a gallery, but not the sort of maps we're talking about. Do you know what I mean?
So it's Liberty or Death coin game can be put in an art gallery.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
that one particularly. Yeah,
it's functional rather than art.
Yes. Yeah.
To me, it doesn't make a difference because I'll look through it because I want to learn the game. But yeah.
He loves everything.
A lot of people do bemoan them. And I know they go, yes, we made them the same so you can put Panzer and MBT together. But at the beginning, the
real reason
rethought that.
I think it's because from my experience of war games is that the war game publisher, developer, etc., they're so focused on the design that all the art stuff comes secondary. Right? And the truth of it is that in the work that because I do the art and the design, that doesn't, I think about it in a completely different way.
Yeah, normally you get a designer and then some guy comes in or some girl comes in and does the art. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well. A good example for me is Pazagori. So you have the original map board, and then if you buy the deluxe edition or whatever, you get on the flip side, they have the new map board with the fancier design and everything.
Yep.
they're both playable. They're both functional. One side looks completely different than the other, but yet they both look good. There's not like, oh, this side is bad, so we made this side, or oh, this side I don't like, so I play this side. I think both sides are both functional, but they're completely different.
And I think
both functional as well.
That's a matter of choice. They both look okay, don't they?
Right.
So it's a matter of choice whether you're going to play the original because you've got. I used to play that all the time, or you're going to play the new one. So
and I think the new one is where the art comes in, because I think they're trying to evoke that time period. So I think that's where a lot of the art or the graphic design comes in, more or less, is because of they're trying to evoke that feeling and make it more immersive.
That's what I like about games like Men of Iron and even SPQR and the Battles of the American Revolution. They're very contemporary looking, and I love that. And even from Revolution games, God bless him, God rest his soul, Kernstown, they just looked like they were written or drawn in the 19th century. So that for me is something that I like.
Yeah, it's what I would call the tone. So when you're starting on a project, you're looking for what the tone of the piece is, and you're thinking about the words that you would use to describe that tone, and you want the design and the art to be completely in mesh with that tone. And I think the truth of it is that there's a lot of games where they're thinking about just the mechanics of the game and even those sort of ideas around tone, whereas perhaps other types of board games, that's really thought through, right? It's one of the things, because we were talking about Warhammer earlier, but early in my career, I worked in the Games Workshop studio, and it is where I learned a lot about how to create tones and keep that tone consistent.
And in the early days of Game Workshop, they were the top of their tree, and
right.
Maybe not so much now, but yeah. And and a lot of games that come out have these sort of generic maps. They all look very similar, very pleasant, and nice. But there's some games that hit the spot, and I'm quite looking forward maybe one day to have a try at the great campaigns of the American Civil War, because those maps are gorgeous and they look like they were written by a cartographer of the 19th century. And
yeah, sure, yeah. I mean, it's the same if you think about other medium. If you think about films or other types of board game, again, that the importance of tone is where everything's working, with the lighting and the composition and the palette and the grading, even before you've had any actor open their mouths and there's any storytelling.
Film noir, for instance, that's
right?
Proper film noir. You're there already before anybody speaks. It to me it's important. I mean, most maps are pleasant and they're nice and they're handsome, but there's some maps that I think, it's just...
But I think you also have to be realistic a little bit on the publishing side, because if you've got a designer who can also do the art, or an artist who can also do the design, that's one thing. But if you've got just an artist, so for example, when we were talking about American Tank Case with Greg M. Smith, the project I've just wrapped up with him, he, by his own admittance, he's not an artist. So it basically means Compass have got to then pay.
He's relying, and Compass are relying on the artist,
the artists, right? And some of the, I don't know what the print run of that game is, but I can imagine how some of the print runs of some of the games we've been talking about, very hard to justify. Just from a commercial point of view, because the art takes it's unfathomably long time to do the work.
And they're not playing Frog games. They're war game publishers that have a very limited run, so they've got to go with it, haven't they? Got to go with the flow, and it must take a tremendous amount of time to get the art right.
That
a lot of backwards and forwards between the developers and the designer and the publisher.
Yeah, but that tiger tank, the piece that you showed at the beginning, Chester, that probably took me, if I was doing it from 9 till 5, that would probably take 3 or 4 weeks to do that piece.
Crazy, isn't it? Crazy. But look at it. Look at that.
Right. So it's a huge investment of time, and and I think there is
right. But if somebody wants to use it, they're going to have to pay for that investment in time.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So I think
more pieces, and there's also, I mean, we would all love everything to be, beautiful and everything like this, but then you have to worry about as a publisher, right? Well, if you got a bazillion little colors on each of your counters, and there's any kind of bleeding of the colors or anything like that,
yeah, for sure.
you got 20,000 counter sheets that are all messed up because of the bleeds. You got maps that's, the colors, you can't see the hex. You can't see the hex side because it gets in the way of the train gets in the way. I mean, there's a lot of issues.
Yeah, you got to look at the practicalities of printing the thing cost effectively, and what the artist wants, what the developer wants, and the designer and the publisher wants. It must be a nightmare. That's why I can understand, Matt, why you self-publish.
Why self-publish?
You can spend the time on the art.
Exactly what I want then. Do you know what I mean?
You want. Yeah.
Like this, I had an interview with Dan Pancaldi from No Enemies Here, and he was like, well, if publishers came to you and they would to publish your games, why wouldn't you do it? Well, it's because if I publish it myself, then I'm doing it all myself, which means you publish it the way you want to. I can do it exactly how I want it done, and there is no, because it's a hobby. There is no, He's like, well, what if they said you do it? They would do it 95% how you wanted, but it's a 5% compromise. I'm like, well, then I'd walk away because
Matt, you've made a few bob, yeah, and that's happy, and you put a lot of time and effort into it. You made a few bob, and that's what it's all about, yeah.
So
you want it.
My wife will say to me, she'll come in here on a Saturday morning. She'll go, haven't you finished that map yet? I'm like, oh no. And she'll look at she'll look at the other games. She'll go, well, how long did they take to do those maps? And I'll look at them and I could probably do that map like that in probably like 2 days. And she's like, well, you're spending like 4 weeks. What are you doing? Right?
Matt, I get my wife coming in and saying, are you still editing that video? I go, yeah, I want it just I've got to redo a bit as well. And I went, yeah, because you want it just right, don't you? And when you're doing it on your own,
I think it's one of the things I've found is that by producing the material and putting it on the internet, it does help you, because as artists and creators and designers, and every designers who's on the listening in will know this as well. There comes a point you do sort of have to commit and say, this is my work. Do you know what I mean? Because it's never finished.
I know it's not the same, but as for me personally, you're never satisfied with your video because and you have to come to a point like you do where you go, and put it up. Yeah. So
I'll tell you a secret. I did a piece of art of a Soviet KV-2, and I got all the research on my computer. I got all the tank treads, and I obsess over the tank treads.
Was your rivet in the wrong place?
It was worse than that. It was worse than that. I got all my reference all in front of me, and I spent hours and hours and hours doing this piece of this KV, and I put it on the internet. And then about a month later, I went back to the research folder to delete all the research because I finished with it. And I was like, why is that tank tread upside down? Why is it upside down in my research?
Yeah.
And I had drawn it with the tank treads upside down.
Ooh.
But it's just, I know it's not the same. You're a creator, an artist, but I look at a video, I put it up, and I think, why have I done that move when I know for certain you can't do? I've just messed it up. Yeah, I'm with you. I know it's not the same thing because you're creating art, but yeah, I'm with you. Yeah.
And
Crazy.
but interestingly, no one had spotted it. So I put this particular
We're
tank
gonna
on there.
post. Don't worry, we'll post.
You'll find it and post it. I've deleted it. It's
Hey,
gone.
what the hell's wrong with these treads?
Gone.
That's what I hope when I put a video up.
But
Oh my God.
what does make me sleep a little easier is there is another game out there published with a front cover, and it has a tank with the tank tread upside down, and no one has spotted it.
What is that game?
I'm not going to say. I am not. There's a challenge. There's a challenge there for everyone.
What, it's something that somebody else has published that you've done work for.
No. It's not my art. So that's what I'm not going to.
Somebody else.
Oh right, okay.
Not my art.
Somebody else has put it in upside down too.
Yes.
All right. Well, guys, I hate to even say it. I'm always the bearer of bad news, but guess what? It's been almost 2 hours already, and we're going to have to start to wind things down here.
Can I just say, punch that. Thumbs up.
There
But
you
please do not damage your computer or monitor or keyboard. We are
Sorry,
not
I
responsible
used
for
to-
any damage to any keyboards or mouses. Thank you.
I used to say smash that like button, but now we've been taken to court. So, because somebody damaged their keyboard.
Yeah.
Smash that like button, please.
Ruff is our official smash the like, and then Tony is our official
Lawyer.
Disclaimer.
disclaimer guy that reads the little writing at the bottom.
I'm going to have to write it out and actually pull it up and go, please do not.
No, they don't really. They don't. These are intelligent people we're talking about here. These are
We are talking about the internet. I want to give these people credit, but we are talking about the internet.
Yeah, but I found generally that wargamers
Yeah.
tend to be sort of higher intelligence. I don't know why, which is why
Because we have 40-page rule books to read with every single one of our games.
Yeah. Sorry, Jester. Go on. Wrap up.
As I said, we're having to wind down a little bit. It's been a great time talking with Matt.
Yeah, it has been. Yeah,
Long time coming. If Ruff would have been on the ball like 6 months ago,
Leave
we
it
would have had him
alone.
on months ago. But trying to
And
get
it sounds like
ready.
we've got a lot of people coming up.
Yes, our October is pretty booked. Don't forget October 23rd.
Third.
No, 16th, isn't it?
No, I'm out the
October
16th.
23rd is the wife episode.
Is it
So
wives
if you
on the-
wanna greet the
Oh,
wives.
23rd. Right, okay.
We also have Mitch Land coming in at the end of October. And we are going to get Dave.
I'd
from
like to
Dave's
get.
Gaming Cave.
I'd
come
like to
in
get a
and-
couple of guys from this side of the pond over, Solo and Yorkshire over, if they want to. I have to contact them and see what they've got to say. So, yeah, that'd be in November probably.
Yeah, we're looking probably at November. Tony, are you here next week or are you off next week?
I'm here next week, but not the week after, the
Oh,
16th.
for God's sake.
All right, so you're on the 9th, not here on the 16th.
16th. Yep. Mhm.
Right. Because Mitch can't make the 9th, but he could make the 16th, and you're not here. So
Oh, thank goodness.
I wanted Mitch to come with Tony so they could talk about the ATS stuff that they're working on. And so, anyways, great time talking with you, Matt. I don't know.
Yeah.
Did you know
Yeah,
you were going to be an artist when you were named after a color?
No, I did not. No.
Okay.
No, Matt, it's that other guy, isn't it? Matt Bianco.
Did you get
We
my
know
joke?
who I'm
Matt
talking about.
White? Get it? Have you ever heard that one before? Am
You know,
I?
it's amazing. I'd never have.
I'm
amazing.
sure, right? I know.
I apologise, Matt.
Do
Sorry.
you got a? Why don't you go through one more time how people can get a hold of you, Matt, and get a hold of your games and get a hold of your Kickstarter and all that? I put the link in earlier, so.
Great.
But if somebody wanted to get a hold of you or to contact you, what's the best way?
So if you're on Facebook, my page is facebook.com/World War II Art. You can contact me there. You can contact me on Board Game Geek. If you want to have a look at my games on Board Game Geek, just type in Until the Bitter End. You'll find me that way. It's probably the easiest way to do that. Just contact me on the Geek. You can contact me on Kickstarter. If you just type Matt White into Kickstarter, that will appear as well. I do have a Twitter handle, World War II Artist. You can contact me there as well. So yeah, quite a few different ways. And if you want to find me on YouTube, again, just type in Until the Bitter End on YouTube or The Road Chosen, and you'll find my YouTube channel where I talk about my games and as well as the reviews of my games as I play them in my collection. So yeah, perfect. Thank you.
All right, Tony, Ruff, what's coming up this week? You guys planning on doing anything, or are you going to be lollygagging again?
Oh, shut up.
I've been doing a lot of stuff, but it's for the ATSFE website.
I saw you got the first playthrough of your solo bot.
Yeah, it wasn't that exciting because the solo bot didn't do anything because there was no line of sight to anything, but it's getting bloody already. So
look, you got to stop it because my love is this, and you got to stop trying to tweak me into this ATS malarkey. All right, stop it. I've been working on that a lot because it's taken a lot of time, and I'm doing a lot more editing with that. I'm trying to get the corners of your cards. That's all I can say.
They're all in sleeves now, so it doesn't matter. So yeah, I actually had a comment. Actually, Evan, the other guy, said, "I can't believe you actually took scissors to a physical component on camera because you have to cut the cards out. They're all in one sheet, so you cut the cards out. Right, so I had to cut the card all the way out, and I did it like on camera. And he's like, "I can't believe you did that." It's like, yep, yeah. So I'm on through turn 2. The nice thing about the way that works out is you flip a card, you don't have to remember whose turn it is. If you get pulled away, I got pulled away, so it's very similar to every other solo bot that's out there.
La 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 la, not listening.
There's a list of instructions, and you figure out which one goes. So it's very similar to all the other bots. But turn 2 is getting really bloody, so it's getting fun. So
I'm watching them and I'm enjoying it, but. Stop it.
You can do both. You can watch and you can enjoy. You don't have to buy. There's plenty of things. I like watching ASL. I am not buying ASL.
You did enjoy watching Atlantic Chase, but you're not.
Yes, I'm not going to buy it. So you just got to have self-control.
You're going to put out a video this week, or are you going to be doing? Are you going to be doing your artistic? I got to make everything perfect before I release it and get out one video a month.
Hold on. I'm just going to.
I want to screenshot that face.
Oh, that's better. Right. So, yes, we have an unboxing of my 3rd GMT sale nonsense, and hopefully part 3 of Across the Bug River, because I want to get this done, because my next game, as you can see maybe here, is Storm Above the Reich. Can't wait to have a go at that as well.
That's a great game. Great game.
So that's my next thing. I don't want to rush this. I want to do it and feel that that's enough, because it is a long game. Mo and Kev will tell you. But I want to.
You're on third video and you're still on the first turn. Is this?
Yeah, but Mo and Kev have done 10 hours and they've just got into the second turn. So give me some leeway here, So, but yeah, I'm seriously.
And are you doing your thing with Blue Tweezers tomorrow?
Oh, Sunday he's teaching me more. So he says.
Are you going to actually play
Death Valley? I might get a go.
You might probably get to roll a die.
I might roll a die, but no, it's good fun. I am enjoying it, and he's a good teacher. So come along and see that Sunday at 8 p.m. British Summer Time, which will be 3 p.m. your time.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, everyone, we hope to see you next week. Thank you so much for everyone coming out today. Fun episode. Great time talking with Matt. Glad we had you on. Would love to have you back and talk. If you want to, release another game, send us all free copies, then we'll have you back on. Until then, we'll see everybody next week. Keep rolling, everybody.
Take care, everyone. Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Everyone.
You're welcome. Nice to have you.